Judge, I was talking with the parties in the hallway and kind of narrowed down the issue. So when we go on the record, I can go through that.
Excellent, thank you. I was wondering that. We will go on the record in the matter 24 FA17, David Mishler versus Brittany Heitner. Appearances are we have both parties appearing in person without counsel. We have guardian ad litem Renee Landgraf appearing in person. We're set here today in this matter for a 2-hour contested final hearing for custody and placement as it relates to the minor child. Prior to the hearing beginning, Ms. Landgraf, you were having some discussions with the parents, and you would like to inform the court of the outstanding and unresolved issues and matters in this case and bring the court up to speed as to where we are with the parties and the custody and placement. Please let me know what's going on.
Judge, if I can just walk through the JL recommendation that I filed. It's document 52 in the court file.
Yes, I have.
That was the document that I went through with. I don't think either party has an issue with the custody paragraph, although I didn't ask specifically. One thing that would be added to that paragraph, though, is that when the child is ready to be baptized, that mom must give dad 30-day notice to dad of the date, time, and location, and the child's going to be raised Christian. And mom gets to pick the godmother and dad gets to pick the godfather. We would just work that into the custody section. As far as the physical placement, as the court can see, I have it outlined as a kind of every other weekend with dad, a little bit longer weekend than traditionally. And then when Owen turns 5, then he would begin alternating weeks during the summer. Dad disagrees with the summer placement from now until he goes into 4K. He would like Owen every other week during the summer, starting immediately. If he is only going to have Owen every other weekend during the school year, he would like alternating weeks during the summer, starting immediately.
Other than that, Dad, Mr. Mishler, you're okay?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay.
And then I think both parties are fine with the holidays as I outline them. And I know they're quite detailed in the court, but it was really due because the parties live quite a distance from each other. And I really tried to minimize the amount of time that the child's going to be going back and forth. The communication section, starting on page 5, is agreeable, except for section 3C. Dad does not think that they need to use the Our Family Wizard for communication. Mom would like to use it. So I'm sure the court can hear some testimony on their communication that's been happening between the parties. Under 4 on page 6, transportation exchanges. For the location, I recommended the Forest Lake Target Shopping Center for all exchanges. Right now, the Thursday evening exchanges are at the Fridley Shopping Center, and the Sunday exchange is the Target, or the Forest Lake Target. Dad would like both days to be the Forest Lake Target, and mom would like to keep the Fridley for the Thursday meeting spot. I do not think Dad is in agreement with the taxes. I think he wants to claim Owen on the taxes. And if I missed anything else, the parties can certainly let the court know.
All right. Before we begin and get into the hearing, Mr. Mishler, did Ms. Landgraf, the guardian ad litem, recite everything basically as you understand it to be?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Heitner, did Ms. Landgraf recite everything, at least with your understanding as you believe it to be?
Yes.
Okay. And again, I'm not saying that you each agree with or disagree with some or not, or whatever. With whatever you disagree with, I am prepared to hear testimony and to make a decision and a determination. Right now, I'm going to have both parties, please stand, raise your right hands, and be sworn in.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide to the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated. Thank you. All right, now with regards to legal custody, Mr. Mishler, you believe that joint legal custody with Ms. Heitner having impasse decision making authority with medical or health, and with the baptism, with you getting 30 days notice and you being able to pick the godfather and Ms. Heitner being able to pick the godmother, you believe that is in Owen's best interest?
The impassive decision-making, I'm kind of confused on how that works.
How that works, or
Like
what
what
that
it
would be is-
exactly means.
what that would mean is if you have a decision and you don't agree, let's just say, I'm just going to use a simple one. Let's just say Owen has a big mole on his cheek and it kind of looks weird, and he gets made fun of at school. But you say, it's fine for a little boy. Toughen up, Owen. You're tough. It's fine. You look good. And Ms. Heitner is saying, I want to have that removed. I think it's going to make it's going to make him feel better about himself. And I think it'll just be a small little scar. And where you're saying no, and she's saying yes, what the impasse decision would be that she says yes, so she would be able to remove the mole.
And Judge, just to add one thing, I did put that she would have that authority as long as it's consistent with his treating physician's recommendation.
Right.
Right.
So if the physician says, yes, he's fine, minimal scar, then.
Right. Exactly. The doctor would have to say, yes, this is what I support.
Okay, so if my oldest daughter, she's severely multiply disabled, and on certain things, we got second, third opinions. And if Brittany was saying, well, we're just going to go with the first opinion, then she just gets to go with the first opinion.
Essentially, yes.
And I don't agree with that, because I think we should have a couple opinions from different doctors
Well, do you
and
want
then
to
go
say,
with the majority.
and from what I'm hearing from you is you would be okay with little minor decisions, but if it's a serious matter, if it's a serious medical issue, you want to be able to have multiple physician opinions.
Correct.
All right. And Ms. Heitner is for serious matters. He's saying he's okay if you have the impasse with minor issues, but with serious matters involving Owen, he would like to be able to have second physician opinions and go from there. Is that something you agree with?
If I don't feel like the decision is right, yeah, I'll do a second opinion, but if I want it, I'll go with it.
Okay, so I'm hearing that that's contested, so I have to hear evidence, or excuse me, testimony, and I need to make a determination, so you're not in agreement with that. Okay, so we're not in agreement with total joint legal custody. All right, so this would be your motion, Mr. Mishler. So you can begin with your testimony. Are you going to have any witnesses provide any testimony?
If I need to call my kids, I guess, I don't know.
Well, I prefer you don't call your children.
Mhm.
I mean, you can, the law says you can call your children to testify, but that is your parental choice. It's my choice to override that if I think it's going to be detrimental or harmful to a child, but I don't know how old your children are.
Megan's 18, London's 15.
Okay. Still putting your kids in the middle.
I'm not trying to.
Okay, so you may begin with your testimony as it relates to what you're seeking for custody and placement. That would be not in agreement. And we've just heard as it relates to joint legal custody. And then I guess the summer placement, and then our family wizard. and the exchanges, where to exchange, and taxes. Those are your contested matters. So you may begin and provide me with testimony. And then Ms. Heitner, you'll be able to ask him some questions, as will Ms. Landgraf. And then Ms. Heitner, I will move to you to provide me information and your testimony. And then he will be able to ask you questions, as will Ms. Landgraf, okay? All right, you may begin.
So with the transfers, I do have to drive farther if we meet in Fridley to go home with Owen. And if we meet at 6 o'clock, by the time we get home, it's almost 8:30. I think it's just more fair that we do the 50-50 distance to our homes. And that would be the target location in Forest Lake.
Judge, if you prefer, I can ask questions and
No, I just want them to,
get to the,
they can just
Okay.
tell me their information. They're pro se.
okay,
I do this a lot. I'm fine with it. They're the ones who have to prove their case.
okay.
I make the decision. So if you want it bad enough, you gotta convince me with all the issues that are contested.
By the time we get home, it's past dinner time, it's past bath time. I gotta get them to bed later.
So what you need to understand, though, is I need to know where you live, where she lives, the distance between, exact amount in between, those kinds of things. Both of you are unrepresented, and I'm not going to have Ms. Landgraf be your attorney because she's not your attorney. She is the guardian ad litem. She's the best interest of Owen, and
Right.
she's already provided me with what she believes is in the best interest of Owen. But it's your jobs to try and convince me to go with what you both individually want.
Right.
If you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. And I'm here to provide you with a little assistance because you're unrepresented. But you know what? You both have the ability to get an attorney. And if you wanted an attorney, you could have gotten an attorney. You could have got an attorney. So that's where we are.
Okay.
So
well,
you know the issues that are contested, and you have to prove to me why I should side with you. And then Ms. Heitner, the same thing. You have to prove to me why I should side with you.
well, can I speak?
It is your floor.
Okay, so because I like what she said about the meat spot in Forest Lake, and I would like to keep that. I don't see why there's any reason that Brittany can contest to that, because it is the halfway point from our home. She lives in Henderson, Minnesota. I live in Webster, Wisconsin.
Next issue.
As far as the decision making, I think it's appropriate to get a second opinion on a serious matter, especially if it's like a brain issue or a heart issue or cancer issues or any type of issues. It's always good to get a second opinion on serious issues. And the minor stuff, I would more than likely agree with her. And I don't think that we will like have too many problems with that, but with serious stuff, I think it's important to have multiple people involved. I did that with my oldest daughter and it worked very well for her.
Okay.
She said she wouldn't live past 6. She's 19 now. Really had to fight for it.
All right. Our family wizard.
I can't really afford it. I pay a lot of child support, and
How much do you pay in child support?
let's see,
And
it's
I'm not saying with other children, only Owen.
only Owen is $60 a week right now.
Okay. So it's a financial
It's a-
reason to you?
Yes,
How's your communication with Ms. Heitner?
it's been pretty good.
Define pretty good.
Lately, we've been communicating well about Owen's care and when she brings him to the doctor or updating on those type of situations has been pretty smooth. I think there was some miscommunication at first and some bitterness in the beginning, but I think we've gotten past that.
Okay. How has your communication been with Ms. Heitner in the last 3 months?
I think it's been fair.
Has there been any arguments?
No,
In the past 6 months, have either of you called each other names?
no,
Have you fought over any issues in a heated manner?
Halloween.
What happened on Halloween?
Well, I was asking her if she could meet me a little bit earlier so I could take him trick or treating by the time we met because we had to meet all the way down in Fridley. And by the time I got home, the trunk for treat up here was over with. And that's another reason why the distance thing is a problem. Because if we would have met in Forest Lake, I would have had an extra half hour and I actually probably would have made it if she forced me to meet by 6. She was being hard-headed, I believe, in that matter because she was asking me beforehand if I would pick him up the next day. And I was being stubborn and wanting him for at least one holiday because I've missed all holidays over the summer, except for Easter.
Okay. But mostly our family wizard is a financial.
Yes,
How much does our family wizard cost?
I believe it's $149 a year.
There's a fee waiver program.
Thank you. Okay. Taxes.
I think it should be every other year who gets to claim them. I do pay for his full medical and I do make more than Brittany.
Who has a telephone on? If you have a
Sorry.
telephone on, you better shut it off. The next time I hear it, I will take it. Okay. Well, that's all you want to say? That's all you want to?
No, I have about the every other, having them for
And every other week. Yep.
during the summer. I have my other children every other week, only because they got older and they're teenagers and, you know, they want to spend more time with their friends. But usually I used to have them for the whole summer, the whole entire summer. But this last year, we've changed it up a little bit because I understand they want to be able to hang out with their friends. And I'm completely okay with that. And I think it's just fair that since he's not going to be in school or, you know, any type of program, that why can't I have him for a week too when they're there?
How old are your children?
Starting route to Forest Lake.
I have a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old, 16-year-old,
Trying to figure out how long it takes to get to Forest Lake.
a 15-year-old, 10, 9, and 2.
15, 10, 9, and 2?
Yep.
Okay. And you have them every other week now?
Every other weekend. And that'll shorten up when he starts in school. I only have him Friday through Sunday instead of Thursday through Sunday. So I think it's important that I get to spend as much time with Owen as possible. And in the summertime, I believe I would get more time with him.
How old is Owen?
He is 2.
He is 2. Okay. What else would you like me to know?
Like if I want to plan a family vacation during the summer, like we usually do, it's about a week long, and I want him to be able to go to that.
You would like vacations built into this?
Well, if we're doing it every other week, I would schedule it on my week that I have them for our vacations.
Okay.
If I can afford it.
Anything else you want me to know? You're trying to convince me.
I'm a good dad. Have 7 children. They're all doing great. I got my first 4 children, got A's and B's in school. I think I've done a pretty good job raising them. My other 2, I see them when I can, and I'm working on them with that mother, on, getting more time with them. So I'm trying to stay out of the court system with her for now, but I have a feeling we might end up in court soon. But I believe that I'm a great father, and he needs to be around his father as much as possible. That he loves to be with me. We have a great time. We do good things together. I read to him. We play with his toys. He needs that father-son time as much as possible.
Where do you work?
I work at Polaris.
That's a great job.
It is a great job.
Great benefits.
Great benefits.
Great benefits beyond just your vacation and 401ks and all that. You get great purchase benefits. Great all the benefits. Great toy benefits. I know all about Polaris.
Yep.
How much you make an hour?
I'm making 24. It just went up. I believe it's 24.51, but I'm not sure. We've been laid off since the 11th, but we go back to work on Monday.
Still a good layoff.
I've been making it work.
Yeah. No, I know. I have a really, I'm not going to say anymore. I know people that not from here that work there.
I'm going on 5 years. It's been the best job I've ever
Good
had.
job. Great job. Okay. All right. Anything else you want me to know or to consider?
Just trust me. Usually the father in most conversations never gets what he wants. It's always given to the mother, everything she
That's
wants.
not even true. And I take offense to you saying that in my courtroom.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think it's been fair all the way around.
Is no siding. This judge does not side with a woman. This judge does not side with a man. This judge sides with facts.
Okay.
This judge sides with what is in the best interest of the children.
Okay.
And I have good guardian ad litems that look at it, and they provide really good recommendations.
Okay. I'm sorry I said that. And I hope that doesn't affect your decision today in court.
Because good judges don't let insults affect their decision. I won't take that as an insult. I will take that as a misconception
Thank you.
and of what could or may happen elsewhere, but not in this court.
Well, I believe everything that's happened with this case has been fair all the way up until right now. And I want to change that stigma of fathers, not people saying those type of things. I want to be like, hey, I got what I wanted.
So Owen is 2. What do you plan on doing with him when he is, if he is with you and you're not working?
Well, we usually ride our bikes or play in the sand pit that I made for him, play with his toys. We spend a lot of
When
time.
you're not with him, you're just gonna go to, well, let's say when you're working and you're not able to be with him, what are you gonna do with him?
I will have one of my children watch them.
How old, what do you mean? Explain your children then. What children? will
Because if
watch
it's,
them?
if it's during the week in the summer, they'll be there too. So they will help me watch them while I'm at work.
Tell me what children or child will watch them?
Megan and London. And, given that, Logan is not working that week, he would help too. This past weekend, I was really sick. I got that, neurovirus and, on Saturday, I needed to rest and the children did a great job with Owen taking care of him. They help out quite a bit, actually.
How old is Megan, Logan, and London? How old are they?
London is 15, Megan is 18, and Logan is 16, going on 17.
Neither one of them want to have a job of their own?
Logan does have a job at Chili's part-time. I believe, Megan, you have a new job. And London is not working. I would pay her a babysitting fee for helping during the summer.
What are your hours at Polaris? Some can have really great hours at Polaris. Some positions there can have not as great of hours.
I used to be on second shift and I transferred to first shift because they canceled out second shift and our hours are from 6 a.m. till 4:30 p.m.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Thursday.
That's what I thought, but there are some different. Okay.
It's changed a little bit because of the economy.
What else would you like me to know?
I want to get them a four-wheeler and
These two.
doesn't mean I can't sit there with them.
Two.
When he's old enough to ride one. He loves bikes. He loves his bikes.
All right. Ms. Heitner, do you have any questions for Mr. Mishler?
No.
Ms. Landgraf, do you have questions for Mr. Mishler?
Yes. Megan, London, and Logan, where do they live primarily?
With her mother,
Where does she live?
Shakopee, Minnesota.
How far is that?
I think it's about 140 some miles. I don't know offhand.
2 or 3 hours away?
2.5 hours.
And you have 2 other kids, Ryder and Otto.
Yes.
How old are they?
10 and 9.
Where do they live?
They live in, what's the name of the town? It's right next to Cambridge,
Near Cambridge.
near Cambridge. Yeah.
How long have they lived there?
They've lived there for the last 2 years.
Before that, how far away did they live?
They lived 400 miles away.
Did you see them at all during the time when they lived that far away?
When I could, I would drive all the way down there.
Do you have a regular placement schedule with those 2 boys?
I do not.
Have they ever been to your house?
They have.
How many times?
They lived there for a while when we were still together. And then one summer they were there for about,
In the last 4 years, how have they been to your house?
no.
And your placement schedule with the other 3 children, and I know that I'm leaving out the 19-year-old Alexis. She's the one who's disabled. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the other 3 children, they are every other weekend during the school year and then every other week during the summer.
Correct.
Okay, when the judge asked about some communication issues, recently. Do you recall when Owen had a medical appointment? And I believe it was scheduled on your time with Zoom.
Yes.
Can you explain to the court what happened?
I said to Brittany, she was saying that he couldn't come because he had the medical appointment. And then when she told me it was a Zoom appointment, I said, well, I could still have him and you give me the Zoom appointment, and we join the Zoom appointment so he doesn't miss his appointment. And she did not agree.
So that was a contested issue during that
Correct.
time. Do you have any extended family in the Burnett County area?
I do not. I do have friends.
You work at Polaris, and that's in Osceola
Correct.
down in Polk County.
Correct.
Does that take about an hour to get there?
Correct.
How long have you lived in Webster?
Almost 9 years.
And you have a rent to own contract on a house?
Yes.
How old was Owen when the two of you separated, you and Brittany separated?
He was almost 2.
So the two of you have been separated for about how long?
Since February 17th.
So about 11 months.
Correct.
After she moved out of your house, is that correct? In Webster?
Correct.
And she moved back to where her family primarily resides in Minnesota?
Correct.
For those first couple months, when she moved out, how often did you get to see Owen?
I got to see him twice until we got the temporary order.
So twice in probably 5 months?
Correct.
And is that because you and Miss Heidner couldn't get along and established times for you to see him?
She let me see him. They let me see him for his Easter. Her aunt got in contact with me because Brittany was not communicating with me at all. And then I went there for Easter, and then we were communicating for a little while, and then she just completely stopped. And I knew about his tubes in his ears, and they told me they would let me attend that, and what they did tell me what time it was, and I did go.
So you got to see him once for Easter and then once at the hospital when he had tubes put in his ears.
I believe that's right.
And did you ask him?
Or was there one more time?
Can't ask,
Did you
can't ask him.
I think there might have been one more time that I saw
Okay.
him.
did you ask her if you could have him for Father's Day?
I did.
What was her response?
There was no response. I don't believe there was a response. I'd have to go
Did you
back.
offer to drive over there and just take him for a couple hours to see him during the day
I would have done anything.
during that weekend? And you expressed that to her?
I believe so.
And still she said that you could not have him for Father's Day.
Yes.
It wasn't until Commissioner Krupa had the temporary order that you were able to have regular placement with Owen?
Yes.
Owen, you had mentioned that he has tubes in his ears. Does he have any other developmental concerns?
Yes.
Can you describe them for the court?
I think he's behind in his development, and he needs to be in early childhood development as soon as possible. It's a great resource. I did it with all my children, and it's helped them throughout their lives.
Do you have any allergies?
He has a peanut allergy.
So the tubes that are in his ears, he had to undergo surgery for that.
Yes.
Were the two of you able to make a medical decision on that?
Yes, I actually signed papers for the doctor when I was there, and there was no problem with it, except for when he was out of surgery, he was in pain. He didn't have an IV, but he still had the IV in his hand. And I asked the nurse politely to remove it since he didn't need it no more, because I knew he didn't like it.
I mean, as far as the surgery itself, did you and Ms. Heitner talk about the surgery in advance and both agree that he should have the surgery done?
I went with the doctor's opinion. So I agreed.
And was she also in agreement with the doctor's opinion?
I believe so.
Do you know if he is in any childhood development right now?
Brittany has mentioned it to me that they are coming out. Speech therapy is coming, I believe, to his daycare. I don't know if they're going to the home.
So
Or
you think that he might be in speech therapy?
Correct.
Does he have any other medical or developmental concerns that you're aware of?
He's a normal boy. Just behind, I think. If there's any issues, I believe the teachers in the early childhood development would, make recommendations.
Okay, and I had mentioned that with our family wizard, it's $149 a year, but there are fee waivers available, especially for the first year. Would you be open to doing our family wizard for the first year at least if you could go fee waiver?
Yes.
Now you don't have any recent criminal history, but you do have like 2 misdemeanors from like 22 years ago, right?
A long time ago, I was,
Yeah.
yeah. Before I had children.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else you want to let me know?
I respect your decision and hope you are able to get this done today.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm now going to turn to you, Ms. Heitner. Again, there are not many outstanding issues for me to decide, but it's for you to try to convince me with regards to the legal custody as it relates to you making the final medical decisions, our family wizard, the exchange spot, why you should claim Owen on your taxes every year, the summer issue until he's 5, because do you agree at the age 5 every other week?
It would throw his routine off, but if you decide that, I can't do nothing about it.
So I guess summers are a contested issue, and then
He likes his
that's it.
routine.
All right. Well, every young child likes a
Yeah.
routine. They need a routine. They need
Uh-huh.
consistency. All right, you may begin with your arguments and statements.
All right. For the placement, custody, whatever, I think it would be in my best interest to have him because I've been already taking care of him since he was born. All his decisions, everything. Because he looked at me when I was pregnant and said I had to take care of him because he already had 7 kids. And so I was been doing it all, taking him all of his appointments, doing everything, taking him to speech therapy every Tuesday and Wednesdays. I have to do every day, every week. I have to take him to St. Peter for that, but you don't know where that's in Minnesota. That's always. I do that. We go to daycare every day. He has someone come in from the school. Her name is Kelly. She sees him about 3 times a month, 4 times a month for his speech, and she's there about an hour. I have to meet with her. I haven't done it yet because she has to get everything together. And for drop-offs, I would like it to be Fridley, what we're doing now. Drop off in Fridley, pick up in Forest Lake. But I like it earlier on Sundays instead of 6 o'clock because when we get home, it's late too. And trying to get him to bed when he's all wound up from sitting in the car. That's not fun trying to get him back in that routine.
What time is drop off and pick up?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay.
Yeah, it's later. It's 6 o'clock on Thursday because we both work. He works until what, 4? And I usually work until like 3:30. I think it's 3:30. And
Can I say something?
Nope.
Okay.
and for that family wizard, I would like to have that communication because he sometimes communicates about other stuff than Owen. And I tell him to stop doing it and he doesn't listen sometimes, or I just ignore it. I just tell him it's just about Owen. And he doesn't do that. That's why I consider doing the my family wizard app through the county. So we just communicate about that. Sometimes he does do that and sometimes he doesn't. And sorry, I have a cold. And for the summer, I don't mind him taking him if he wants to go on a vacation. You can take him on a vacation. But trying to do the every other week and try to keep him straight into you have to get up and go to daycare. We have to do this, we have to do that. It's hard. And plus, if he's still in speech, then if he wants him every other weekend, he has to drive him to St. Peter that Tuesday and Wednesdays. He has to be there at 7:30 in the morning. He has speech every Tuesday and Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning. And it's usually about a half hour. And I've been trying to get it to switch, but that's what my work is working with me to have him that appointment. And he's probably going to be in speech for a while because he's still trying to learn. Well, he says some words, but some of them don't come out very good. And they're trying to work with him with other things too. Jeez, I had this all in my head, now I forgot it all.
That's okay, take your time.
For the fiscal. And for him, my problem is I don't mind him going every other weekend. I just don't want him all the time around the kids. All the time. Because when he was younger, they didn't help. They weren't there. I mean, they were there, but they would just sit in the room and ignore him. And then I packed up and left last year, and all of a sudden now they're there every other weekend. They never came every other weekend when they lived up there, when I was living there. And his other kids never came either. For his doctor's appointments, I tell him every time he's in the emergency room, because we've been in there a lot because there's a lot of stuff going around daycare right now. I tell him every time he's in that, but when it comes to major decisions, like the appointment he was supposed to have the day after Halloween, I was fighting to get into that appointment and I totally forgot it was his weekend because I took the first slot that was open. And in Minnesota, you have to be in Minnesota to do the Zoom appointments. That's why and then I called up there and they said they canceled it until the custody thing is figured out and then we can go do the appointment. And that was.
Has there been any real medical decisions that both you and Mr. Mishler can't agree upon with Owen so far?
Well, I know he's kind of young for this, but I kind of want him checked for like autism and ADD because I have a learning disability. He has one. It runs in my family too.
Well,
Yeah,
Do you agree?
I agree.
That's not
Yeah.
a disagreement.
well,
So
that's
has there
what-
been any impasse
no,
since
just
he's
for
been
that.
born?
No,
Okay.
not really, no.
All right. Okay, now, our family wizard, you just find that the communication hasn't been easy, or it's been over communication, not just about Owen.
It's been over communication, not just about Owen, but other things too.
Has it been harassing?
He'd send multiple messages and I just ignore it. And I tried getting a harassment order and it didn't work.
Explain to me, define what you thought was harassing and
And
why you
repeating
thought-
messages saying that he misses me. He wants me to come back up here. He's sending me messages what they did on the kids' birthdays and I really don't care what he does. That's his kids. I'm not there no more. I don't care.
But has it been communication? Has he been angry and fought with you and called you names?
No, he never really did that. No.
It's just, you want our family wizard because you feel it's been over communication,
Yes.
issues and matters that right now you just want to disconnect from.
Yes.
Okay. And the exchange spot, I think you talked about that a little bit, but anything more you want to add on that? You just said the time, and the time gets late, and
Yeah, it just gets late trying to get him home because it's usually, well, if traffic is right, it's usually 7:38, and then you try to get him to calm down and go to bed, a 2-year-old at that time. No, after being in the car, no. So I just like maybe on Sundays just a little earlier, maybe like 5 or something.
Okay.
So that I can get home and settle down and get him, because then we have to get up and go to work the next day, and he thinks it's funny to be up and not sleep.
all right, taxes.
I like to claim on taxes because I've been basically taking care of him for the past 2 years, and he only gets them on every other weekend. I've been taking care of him for the 2 years, doing everything for him.
Where do you work?
I work at Angie's Learning Center in Belle Plaine, Minnesota. It's a daycare.
Work in a daycare.
Yeah,
Okay. How
and
much do you
he
make
goes
now?
it's $12, and he goes to that daycare too.
Okay, and so he goes to that daycare, so you get to have him around, not necessarily watch him.
He's around, but he's in a different room. I'm with the
I
littles.
understand.
Yeah.
All right. And what are your hours?
Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Monday are 8:15 to 5:15. Thursdays are 6:30 to 3:30.
Okay. And did you want to do any more testimony, provide any more testimony as to the every other week in the summer?
No, I can't think of no.
Anything else you want me to know? You want to provide to me? Because again, this is your time to convince me why I should agree with you on some or all of these issues.
I don't think so.
Mr. Mishler, do you have any questions for Ms. Heitner?
I do.
You may go.
For 3 years that you did live with me and with Owen, how often did you work?
I didn't work because you took my vehicle and you told me to stay home. You would
I'm-
take my
I'm-
vehicle, you
I'm
didn't pay the
asking-
insurance, you didn't pay the car payment, you didn't pay nothing on it.
I'm asking
I
how
didn't work.
often she
I need to
worked.
stop you. You guys can't talk. Nobody can speak. Well, somebody
Oh,
else is speaking.
sorry,
The
sorry,
recorder needs to take it down.
sorry.
And I understand that some of these questions may be upsetting or frustrating or may be filling you with emotion.
Yeah,
And I understand that. You can ask your questions, but let's try and be respectful of each other. Okay?
okay.
You can continue.
Did you not work 1 day a week on the weekends, cleaning at the lodge?
Yes, I did. I only could work 1 day a week because you told me I had to work around your schedule. I would have to pay daycare and you didn't fix your vehicle. You used my vehicle.
And who watched Owen while you were at work?
You did, but you kept telling me to hurry up and come home because you were tired because you stayed up all night.
That's irrelevant, Your Honor. As he said, she said. Would you be okay with Owen having speech therapy at my house through Burnett County when he's at my house during the summer? And I've spoken with Leah Jacobs about this, and she said that is possible. So that way he's not missing out on speech therapy during the summer. And I don't have to drive 2.5 hours to get him to an appointment down there when we can schedule appointments here with therapists.
You gonna pay for that?
I don't think so.
I'm not paying for it. I already have to pay for other things.
I believe it would be insurance.
Insurance always doesn't pay for everything.
I'm gonna say this isn't a bicker fight back and forth. This is supposed to be a question and answer. And if it's going to be bicker back and forth, we're not gonna do it. Okay? Her answer was no.
Brittany, do you think it's fair to say that I'm a good father and I've always been good to Owen and took care of him when you were not taking care of him?
It's kind of a compound question. You're kind of asking multiple questions within one question.
Okay.
First question, Brittany, do you think he's a good father? You're under oath.
When he would help out, but he always didn't help out.
Right, next question.
Brittany, did I not work on second shift, which made the hours tough on us both because I would not get home until 4:30.
Again, you're
Sorry.
taking a question and you're going, whoa, and stretching it way
Okay.
out and making it a whole story.
Okay. Did it make it hard on a relationship because I was working on second shift?
Yeah, and I asked you to switch shifts and you would do it. And then after I left, you switched shifts.
Next question.
Brittany, do you think it's fair to say that in the beginning of Owen's life that none of your family members were at the hospital when he was born?
Relevance. Next question.
Brittany, do you think 4 o'clock me time on Sundays would work?
It would be better.
I would agree to that. Has Owen been witness to any type of physical violence at where you're staying now?
No, he hasn't.
Has he been exposed to any type of drug use or around people that are using drugs, such as marijuana?
My cousin smokes it. Well, not my cousin, because she can't. She has a baby, so they don't smoke it. But her fiance does, and he does it away from the kids. He doesn't do it around them.
Is it fair to say that
They smoke too, but he doesn't do it around them. He'll go somewhere else and do it.
in the garage?
When they're not around.
Next question.
Would you be opposed to him getting speech therapy at my house too?
Asked and answered, but would you like to answer it again?
No.
Next question.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Landgraf, questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Heitner, you live over in Henderson, Minnesota.
Yes.
Who do you live with?
I live in the basement with my aunt. That would be my mom's sister.
It's just you and your aunt, and well, to say basement, it's the lower half.
Yeah, the lower, it's like a duplex.
Lower half
Yeah.
of a duplex.
Yeah.
And who lives on the upper half of the duplex?
That would be my cousin and her fiance and 3 kids. She just had her baby.
And those, well, now, so that'd be 4 kids now, right?
No, she has 3.
Three with the
Well, she
baby?
had 2 and now she just had the baby last week.
How old are the 3 kids?
Yeah.
How old are
No,
they?
how old are they?
Oh, Paisley. They just
About.
I think 8. Grayson is 5 and the baby is a week old.
Do they have a good relationship with Owen?
Yeah, they always ask where he is.
Do they play together?
Yeah.
And Mr. Mishler alluded to your cousin's fiance occasionally smoking marijuana, and he does that in the garage that is detached from the residence. Correct?
It is.
You don't get to answer. Not
Yes.
your question.
Yes, it is
And
detached.
the kids are not present during
No.
that.
No.
And this is over in Minnesota.
Yes, it's in Minnesota. Yes. If they come around, we yell at them and tell them to move, or he'll go get up and leave.
Do you have other family members in the Henderson area?
I have family in the surrounding areas. In Lee Center, my grandma lives. I have a brother that lives outside of Lee Center between Lee Center and Henderson.
And about how far away from Henderson is that?
Lee Center is about 20 minutes. And my other brother, it's about 20 minutes for him too. And I have family, I'm from that area, so I have family like all over.
Okay, that
Yeah.
was my point.
Yeah,
But your parents, they live down by Nashville, Tennessee.
yeah, they're in
Do
Tennessee.
they come
yeah.
up and see Owen?
My mother has, yes.
You indicated when you lived with Mr. Mishler that the three of the kids that he has a placement order with, they rarely came over to visit.
They would come over during the summer, like he said, and the holidays, but they wouldn't come every other weekend, not all the time.
Okay, and the other two, Ryder and Otto, you never met them?
I've never met them. No.
You ever talked to them on the phone?
No, I never talked to him on the phone. No.
How long were you and Mr. Mishler in a relationship for?
3 years.
Did you live together for most of that time?
Yes.
In addition to what Mr. Mishler has already testified about Owen's health concerns, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Is he allergic to eggs?
He can have eggs in moderation. He can't have them like all the time because he'll break out a rash, but not like his peanuts when because he has an EpiPen for that. But if he has eggs a lot, he'll break out a rash, but he can have it in baked goods. I don't, it's weird.
And you don't have any criminal convictions on your record at all?
No.
The judge had asked a question about the communication. You recall an incident that you brought to my attention about there was an altercation or a disagreement between the two of you, and Mr. Mishler was talking about returning Owen's clothes.
Oh,
Can you describe that for the court?
he got money out of his trust fund and bought Owen clothes. And I brought it all back to him, so he had clothes there because Owen had clothes already at the house. I brought it all back, and I have to bring back a pair of shoes that I forgot.
And that's because he told you he wanted those clothes back?
No, I just give them back because he bought them. He can have them at the house, so he has clothes at the house for him.
Okay. During exchanges, how do those exchanges typically go?
Sometimes sometimes it takes forever because he keeps talking. Other times I just get him and go.
Has he asked you for diapers and rash cream and other things that he needs for Owen from you?
No, I just ask if he has them, or like the last weekend he was with, he's been on these strong antibiotics and his butt's been breaking out. So I just asked if he had it. If I didn't, I'd throw it in the diaper bag.
Oh, so he takes care of all that stuff on his own.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to ask you about is the daycare that he goes to. It's the Angie's Learning Center where you work,
Yes.
and he's kind of like in a separate room or separate building from you.
We're all in the same building. It's just he's in a separate room.
Okay, so this place it's not just a daycare, but it's like the early education learning.
Yeah, they do. There's a curriculum. I can't say that word.
Curriculum.
Yeah, that they usually go by. They do his numbers, his shapes, the letter of the week, color of the week. Like he does that stuff already.
Okay, and then do you have some Minnesota State assistance to help you pay for the daycare?
Yes.
And I recall, and if you can confirm this, at the last hearing, you indicated that Owen can only miss 3 days of daycare per month. Otherwise, you could lose that assistance.
Yeah, I think
Is that still the case?
yeah.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
All right. Now, I guess that's all that we have, all the evidence and testimony, unless there's anything else that either party has to present to the court. Nope, I'm seeing none. Ms. Landgraf, you have provided a guardian ad litem recommendation. I have reviewed that recommendation. You did breeze through it a little bit today prior to the hearing. Before I ask for your recommendation and if anything has changed from your written recommendation after hearing testimony, I want to ask both parents, as it relates to the holidays and the special events, did both of you thoroughly read the recommendation or at least discuss the holiday plan that Ms. Landgraf worked out? I'm going to guess you worked it out or had some input with her in order for her to put it on paper. Is that correct?
Yes, we did have,
Yes,
yeah.
And so, Mr. Mishler, are you in agreement to the holidays, vacations, special events as laid out by Ms. Landgraf?
yes,
Ms. Heitner, the same
Yeah.
with you?
Yes.
So you both are in agreement as to those special things. All right. Okay. All I needed to get clarified. Ms. Landgraf, your recommendation, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. My recommendation is not changed at all. I do just want to point out a couple things during the testimony that actually support my recommendation even further. But I do believe that now that the parties have agreed to Sunday at 4 p.m. for an exchange, that would be changed under section 2A2. As far as the alternating weeks, I know Mr. Mishler testified that he would like that to begin immediately instead of my recommendation between the 4K and the kindergarten years. I think typically I would absolutely say yes. I think that that would be great for a child to be able to spend more time with the non-primary placement during the summer. However, we have a 2.5-year-old that has some pretty significant speech therapy and some developmental concerns that mom already has him in speech therapy twice a week. I think it would not be good for his routine or health to have him have to switch back and forth between a place in Burnett County and a place in Minnesota. But even if he could do that, which again would be great, Mr. Mishler works an hour away. And if his children are at his house watching him, they would be responsible for getting him to and from those appointments. And as Mr. Mishler stated, that sometimes his kids want to spend time with their friends and maybe they don't come over as consistently during the summer as possible. I think that would be terrible if we have this 2.5, 3-year-old boy without a consistent placement during this summer. So I think by waiting an additional summer or two, I think it'd be 2 summers from now where he can be with Mr. Mishler every other week. Because if he does need to go to a daycare or watched by his older sisters or older brother, I think that would be a little bit different than where he is at right now. I think he needs that consistency and that speech therapy in the same place that he has now. I think just the party's conduct here in court today do support that our family wizard that not only am I recommending, but Ms. Heitner is asking for, as the court had to admonish the parties that there will be no bickering here in court. The same can be seen in text messages and the testimony that Ms. Heitner provided. I think one thing that could be added, though, under the holiday and special events could be 1 week summer vacation with dad upon 30-day notice to mom. I didn't realize I didn't have that in there. He does have a couple extra days over the Christmas and other holiday breaks, but I think adding a 1 week summer vacation until Owen starts alternating weeks during the summer, I think that that would be reasonable.
What, I'm sorry, can you repeat what you just said?
From now until Owen, if the court follows with the recommendation where the alternating weeks during the summer, they start between the 4K and kindergarten summer instead of this summer, that I do think it's appropriate for Mr. Mishler to have 1 week vacation during the summer.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. But then when it switches to alternating weeks, I don't think that that's really necessarily needs to be built in because we would already have every other week during the summer and wouldn't need to have a special set aside vacation time. Thank you.
All right. Any final argument from you, Mr. Mishler?
I believe that he could get speech therapy as well. and it would be beneficial to his needs. Just to be with his family. If I need to put him in daycare, I can do that. I will figure it out, ask for assistance from the state, see if they can give me that assistance. Otherwise, I would schedule those appointments for the day that I am home, which would be the Friday. And if it's just once a week, at least it's better than none a week. If I can get him the alternating weeks during the summer. I want to spend time with my son and have him. He's a big part of my life, my kids' lives.
Thank you. Ms. Heitner, anything, any further statements you wish to make to the court or closing arguments?
No.
These types of cases that involve children are some of the hardest cases that courts have to handle and that I have to deal with. Because children are not chattel, they're not property, it's not an item, it's not a notebook. Children are people and they love both of you. Owen is a part of you, Mr. Mishler, and a part of you, Ms. Heitner. And a lot of times when I have cases like this, where I have a mom and a dad who very much love their child or children so much, yet they can't agree as to custody or placement because each parent really truly wants that child to be with them 100% of the time, all of the time. Truly. I want to say, unless you're not a good parent, but parents still need their breaks too. You still need to have time away from children so you can have your cup full and you can be able to give all to your children. But in cases like this, I like to read what's called the Bill of Rights of a child in a divorce or a separation of parents. Number one is to be told that my mother and my father still love me and will never leave me. 2, to be told that the divorce or the separation is not my fault and not to be told about the adult problems that caused it. To be considered as a human being and not considered as another piece of property to be fought for, bargained over, or threatened. To have decisions about me based on what is in my best interest, not on past wrongs, hurt feelings, or my parents' needs. To be allowed to love both my father and my mother without being forced to choose or to feel guilty. To know both my father and my mother through regular and frequent involvement in my life. To have financial support of both my father and my mother. To be spared hearing bad, hurtful comments about either of my parents, which have no useful purpose and just hurt me. To be a child and not to be asked to tell a lie or act as a spy or a messenger between my parents. To be allowed to have affection for people who may come into my life through my parent without being forced to choose or to feel guilty. Because sometimes, and I'm sure I am guilty of this as well, when we as parents are not with that other parent cohabitating and in a relationship, sometimes our child is put in the middle, even when we don't necessarily mean to do that. Owen is 2. He may not fully understand or comprehend but he does understand. He does. He has a better understanding than either of you may believe. He feels your emotions. He feels your tensions. He feels your frustrations. He feels when you tense up, when you go near each other. He feels that. Owen deserves to feel calm and loved by both of you. I've heard from both of you, and I don't necessarily think I needed a lot more testimony or a lot more information or input. Ms. Landgraf always does a great job at talking to the parents, at looking at the children involved. Here we have a 2-year-old. We have Owen, just a young little baby. He's not a baby, he's a toddler, but he's still a little baby. And he may not know a lot about life. He may not have experienced a lot about life, but I'm going to tell you, he knows dad and he knows mom and he loves you both. And it hurts him just as much as it hurts you when he goes to the other parent's home. He feels that because he loves you both. And just because your relationship didn't work out and you're not going to be happily forever after, doesn't mean that Owen's relationship with both of you and both of you together doesn't have to work out. It should, and it should work out as co-parents. And you don't need to talk about other things. It's nice to be friendly, and it's nice to talk about your other children and your other things that are going on in your life. And at one point in time, Miss Heitner was your best friend, your partner, your confidant. And at one time, Miss Heitner, he was yours. And it's not like that anymore. And sometimes it's hard to let go, and that's grief. There are stages of grief, but you have to move on, and you have to do that for Owen. But if you both can get to a point where it's more than tolerate each other and you can care. I'm glad to hear about London and Logan, and I'm glad to hear about what's going on at your job. And I'm glad to hear that you got a raise and now you're the head teacher at your daycare. Hopefully it'll get there at some point. There'll be a lot of work to get there, but don't rush it. Don't rush it. Mr. Mishler, she needs you to just talk about Owen. Give her space. Give her peace. Just talk about Owen. I guess I've heard from both of you. I guess I didn't hear how many other children do you have?
I only have Owen.
Okay, and that's maybe why we didn't hear anything else, but, and I heard you're both, from the testimony, from the words that came out of your mouth, you're both great parents. You do different things, very different things, but you're both great parents. And Miss Heitner, you may not agree with some of the things that Mr. Mishler does, and Mr. Mishler, you may not agree with some of the things Miss Heitner does. I don't agree with some of the things that my son's dad does, or whatever, whatnot. But it's all about Owen. If he stays up until 8:45 at your house, Mr. Mishler, or he goes to bed at 7:30 at your house, Ms. Heitner, it's not something that should cause a war. I know you're looking out for Owen's best interest, and you want to protect Owen, and you want consistency. Eat at the same time. Snack at this time. We do activities at this time, and it's better for Owen as a toddler, and it's better for Owen with these developmental delays and with his speech therapies and all of these things that he has. He has challenges. but he's overcoming these challenges with your support, Mom. And you're there and you're strong and you're doing all that you can. Don't bear the load on your shoulders by yourself. You have a dad with 7 kids. That's got to be hard to have 7 kids. You've raised them. They're all alive, I think, right?
Yes.
They're all alive and they're doing well.
Yes.
And you want to be in Owen's life, and you sound like you're a good dad and you're looking out for what's in Owen's best interest. And I hear you and I understand what you're saying, where you want to look out and say, okay, well, we can have a speech therapist here in my area, as well as a speech therapist in Ms. Heitner's area, so he can continue with his therapy. I'm not in any way, shape, or form an expert in speech therapy or any of that. I do have a friend who is that and does that. I don't know a lot about that. But Owen is 2 right now, and I hear you want to do all you can, and it's not a fixing thing. Dad, you can't fix it. You want to fix it, fix it, fix it. The more we do, maybe we can fix it. It's just about helping it and helping him do better and helping him be the best Owen with his challenges that he can. But it could be too difficult for him at 2 to have 2 different therapists. But I'm not an expert, so I can't make that decision. I can't without having experts tell me themselves and reading reports and myself weighing those facts to determine if it is in his best interest to have 2 or if that would be harmful. So at this juncture, I have to look at it would be harmful or could be harmful, because I don't have a doctor here telling me that a 2-year-old can have 2 separate speech therapists and go through occupational therapy and that to have 2 separate at 2 different places, and that'll be fine. If I had a doctor here testifying, providing me with information like that, I may go, you're right. Okay, that makes sense. But I have to err on the side of caution, and I have to look at Owen. And right now, Owen is 2, and I'm not saying he's struggling, but it's harder for him to do things than it was harder for my son to do things at 2. He didn't have the speech, he didn't have the hearing issues or the speech issues or those challenges that Owen does. But you're both doing the best that you can. You are. And you're looking out for Owen, and that's what we need to do. And I agree with you, Mr. Mishler. And Ms. Landgraf agrees with you, Mr. Mishler. And I have to tell you, you can ask Ms. Landgraf, there are quite a few cases, lots of times, dad gets primary, dad gets this, dad gets more. I'm not a pro mom all the way kind of person. I'm not. I look at the child or the children and the situation, and I look at today and I look at what it's going to be tomorrow. And then I look at a few years down the road and then where we're going. And just because what could be ordered today gets ordered doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen or that's what's going to stay forever. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to come back to court or you have to have a contentious argument or fight, because Owen will develop and Owen will want to do more things. So as it relates to the custody issue, the legal custody, I do believe that both of you are fit and proper people to have joint legal custody. And although I've heard that there has been some issues, and I did hear a little bickering here today, this is still a fresh breakup, a fresh separation. And you have a 2-year-old, and it's hard. It takes years to move on and heal. Again, you're grieving. You're grieving a death of a life you thought you were going to have happily ever after. But at this juncture, I can't find that there's enough here weighing that mom gets final say. At this juncture, it's joint on everything. Now, if there comes a time that there is an issue, then you do come back to court if you can't agree. And then I say, well, the facts are coming out here, and mom gets to make final decision, or dad gets to make final decision. But here today, there hasn't been a history or an issue that has come up where either of you are at each other's throat with Owen. He has challenges and he's had medical issues and things, and you've both kind of agreed. And then when I questioned Ms. Heitner about, well, what do you think, or has there been any past arguments? She wanted to know about testing because autism or other things. And you want to do that, Mr. Mishler. So I don't see conflict right now, or enough conflict right now not do joint legal custody for all at this point. As to the baptism, that's a parent's choice. I don't get into religion. This is a court. But you chose and you agree that he can be baptized with dad getting 30 days notice and dad getting to choose godfather and mom getting to choose godmother. As to the holiday schedule, I'm fully adopting the guardian ad litem's recommendation as she has placed that in her recommendation, her written recommendation. As to the communication.
Judge, just one clarification. Does that include the extra week for summer vacation that I added?
There, Ms. Landgraf, because I
Sorry.
haven't gotten to placement yet.
Sorry.
So, as to communication, I haven't heard that there's a lot of fighting, that there's a lot of, there may be bickering here today and some bickering and some things. I haven't heard fighting. I haven't heard name calling. I haven't heard any of that. I have heard unwanted communication, too much communication. Usually our family wizard is for the bad, hurtful comments, kinds of things, to stop those. But I hear mom, I hear Ms. Heitner. She wants that extra layer of protection. She needs that to move on and grow. She's not getting a restraining order. There's not going to be no contact. She just wants the communication between both of you to be with our family wizard. And I can't fault her for that. So I am going to order our family wizard for 1 year. If you can get the fee waived, which I didn't know existed, then you can. If you can't, you have to pay for it. Mr. Mishler, you make twice as much as Ms. Heitner. You can afford it. Don't buy that fancy shirt you're wearing.
It's given to me.
Okay, I'm just saying. There's ways to budget it in where you can afford $149 for 1 year. But if you can get it waived, I hope you can get it waived. But that may be what Ms. Heitner needs as that extra cushion to be able to co-parent. And that's why I'm saying for 1 year, and it can be reviewed after that. If either parent requests it after that, and you disagree, then I'll decide if it should be extended. But this way, you can communicate and use our family wizard. If 6 months down the road, you both agree while you're communicating on our family wizard that you don't want to use it, stop using it. Then don't. But right now, this is that barrier. Now, taxes. Mr. Mishler, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like this at all, but you make twice as much as Ms. Heitner. And you work about the same amount of hours. And you're paying far less than you should be paying in child support. And that's because you have 7 children. So you're paying child support to other women for other children. So you get that discount. Owen's your youngest child. So that's the issue with the child support system. It goes ding, 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 down to Owen, the last child, who gets the least amount of child support. You should be paying $182 a week in child support. You're paying $60 a week in child support. So Ms. Heitner should get the benefit of claiming him every year because she's not getting the full support she would be getting, but for you not having to pay child support for the other children you have. You understand?
I understand
All right.
and agree.
Okay, thank you. So Ms. Heitner can claim Owen every year. Now, this is where neither of you are going to be super duper happy, but this is why I love my job. Okay? Because you want Forest Lake, you want some mall somewhere. I have MapQuest. And I have the exact center point. So you will meet exactly. It's almost 80 miles for you, Mr. Mishler, and 80 miles for you, Ms. Heitner. You will meet at the Quick Trip in Centerville.
Where's that?
Kind of by
that?
Hugo.
Mhm. Okay,
In Hugo, it's past Forest Lake.
okay.
It is. That's why I love MapQuest. 2045 Main Street in Centerville, really, Hugo. So it's like 78 miles from your address, Ms. Heitner, and it's 80 miles from your address. So there you go. Exactly half almost between. And if you want to stop a little bit short and make her drive a little bit further into the parking lot, go ahead, Mr. Mishler. Okay? But that is exactly almost as close as you can get halfway between your houses. Okay? So, meeting on Sundays is now 4 p.m. because you've both agreed through testimony, and I think that's a good time on Sundays. Thursdays, where I'm looking at Centerville, when you're getting off of work, this is your benefit though, quite honestly. If you're working, it's very close to your work. And you get off at 4:30 and Ms. Heitner gets off at 3:30. She's going to have a longer drive on Thursdays. But that could change because your work could change, your things can change, and life can change. So it's going to be 5:30 on Thursdays.
Okay.
Okay,
I might hit traffic, so it'd probably be,
well, then we can keep
Yeah.
it 6. Whatever, it's just it's gonna affect you the most on Thursdays,
yeah,
Ms. Heitner.
because traffic usually is stop and go a lot, but I'll try to get there at 5:30.
We can keep it at 6. That you're right, you're going, that is
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was running into. I was hitting traffic, so it always take me like a half hour longer, 45 minutes longer, because I always stop and go.
Maybe to Centerville, Hugo, it's gonna be easier.
I don't know.
Maybe there's a-
The only way I'll find out is if I take it.
That's true. But here's the great thing with that. See, I get to make that decision and say, that's where you're meeting and those are your times in my order. You as adults and co-parents can work together and say, you know what, Brittany? I get it. I get it. I want to work with you. Let's meet somewhere easier for you on Thursdays. Or let's change it to this time, or let's do this. That's the wonderful thing about being co-parents. Even though the judge can screw you, you can fix it if you work together, right?
Yes.
So no matter what I put in my order, you guys have the ability to change it if you can agree.
Yes.
Okay, because it's all working together. The more you work together, I'm going to tell you, the better Owen's going to be. The better he's going to be. Now, we are on to the last thing, and that is the summer placement. Because mom has primary, and now we're looking at dad will have every other weekend, Thursday. And if we're saying at 6, the Sunday at 4. So you can spend all of that good quality time with him. And I like that you have the Fridays off and you get to spend all of that good quality time with him. That is, dads and sons need that time together. You need to show them how to tinker on trucks and
He already does that.
go fishing, you know,
Yes.
and not an ATV yet. Not yet. There's helmets. Wear lots of helmets. Double the helmets up.
Yep.
Okay. But he needs that time with you too.
I need that time.
And you do as well. And I truly believe Miss Heitner understands that. And she gets that. And Owen is 2 right now, and he does need the stability and the consistency even more than a child without the challenges that he has. Because he's trying to, his day is harder than a 2-year-old who doesn't have this to face the same challenges. And he does need that consistency more. And he does need that structure more because he's doing so much more learning and experiencing because of his challenges. And I don't want to say he's not disabled.
No.
He's not disabled. He's not, and that's why I say challenges. It's because he just has some things he has to overcome. And both of you know it, and you can help him with that. And Mr. Mishler, Dad, I want you to have more time with him. I truly do. I see that you want to have all of that time with him. Right now, I do need to focus on and make sure that he's going to get the therapy and do the consistency that he needs, at least for a while. Again, that's why it would have been very helpful if I would have or could have had a doctor here explaining to me those types of things so I can understand those types of things better. Because right now, I have to see and understand what Owen's going through and his appointments, his multiple appointments and multiple things that he has to do, and the struggles. And I don't want to say struggles because it sounds negative, but his day is harder than a different 2-year-old's day. So at least at this time, the Thursdays through the Sundays. But then when he is older in the 4K, the every other week. But I want to say that more time too. You're working and you're going to have your whole week. It's hard because you're so far away. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't say a lot of personal things in my courtroom. My son's dad lives in the cities, 2 hours away. My son lives with me. He sees him like he has 50-50 placement because he's here all the time. He's here all the time. He's the scout leader. He goes to every basketball game. He goes to all of these things. And he's a lawyer too for the County of Ramsey. So, you know, it's not like you can't then have more time. So the Thursdays through the Sundays with that additional week, and I'm not going to limit it to the summer, but an additional week that you can have Owen and take him on vacation or don't. Just take your time off because you have a lot of time off at Polaris. You do. As long as you give 2 weeks notice to Ms. Heitner, okay? And additional reasonable time. So, you know, if you're like, hey, I want to take Wednesday off next week. I want to spend it with Owen. Hey, Brittany, I'd really love to spend Wednesday with Owen, or I'd like to take him Wednesday night. Can I pick him up and take him Wednesday night and, you know, have him early? Sure. The reasonable notice. So that means that you have to give her reasonable notice, at least 24 hours in advance. You have to say, hey, I'd like to do this, or I'd like to pick him up for dinner, or does he have anything going on? If he has a doctor's appointment or something that is legitimate, she's not going to say no. All right? Because in the summer, you probably take more time off. And when you're laid off, you have a lot more time off. And I want to make sure that when you're laid off too, are you usually laid off in a month?
This is the first time we've been laid off that I've worked at the company.
Okay.
So
if you're laid off, I want this there too. If you're laid off, you can then have Owen. I'm not sure because I don't know how long you're going to be laid off, but you know, for extra time, 3 days upon reasonable notice. Brittany.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we do like 2 weekends in a row until he's 5?
I'm not changing the weekend thing right now. The consistency of every other weekend right now.
Okay.
But that's why I'm throwing in that extra time. And that's why it's like, if it's Tuesday, you don't, even if it's not 24 hours and you say, hey, Brittany, I'd love to run it and grab Owen and I'd love to take him ice skating. Could I do that? And Brittany, I want you to be open and I want you to open your mind, heart, and soul as a parent. And say, sure, go take Owen ice skating. Have him back by 8 so he can be back to bed. Okay? I know it's hard. I know it's very hard to do. Very hard to do. You're doing it for Owen. Okay? And so I think that is, oh, and Owen may not be around anyone who is, he may not be in the presence of anyone who is doing any illegal substances. He just can't. Okay. So I don't know. I don't understand. I kind of get where you were going with that, but I'm going to say, I don't think, at least from what I was gathering from Ms. Heitner, that her cousin's friend's uncle's brother was smoking a joint in front of him. You know, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know, but that's not what I gathered from the testimony or from what she said. But don't have Owen in the presence of anyone using illegal substances. I shouldn't have to say that, but I'm going to say that.
Judge, marijuana, I believe, is legal over in Minnesota. So do you
Oh,
want to have just
shoot.
not in the presence of marijuana
But
or
it's not
illegal substances?
federally. Excuse me, but it's not
yeah,
federal.
federally. But yeah,
Well-
I want to say including marijuana.
Okay. And then I do have on there, Judge, I don't know if you plan on adopting the other paragraphs that we didn't really get into, that I think that the parents were fine with, but like I have the transporting party or the passengers in the vehicle, may not smoke cigarettes or anything else that would
Yes,
subject them
that's
to
adopted.
secondhand smoke. Okay, so that one,
Pretty much everything that I've said that's not inconsistent with your recommendation, Ms. Landgraf, I adopt.
okay. I know some of it seems kind of overkill, like communication, the parents like shall not like engage in conversation other than quick updates at the exchanges, just because was some issues about too much communication at exchanges, just stuff like that. Just want me to leave in the proposed order?
Leave it, because that's what
Okay.
I've kind of had that talk right now. They're just kind of growing and healing and trying to move on.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the pre-K deal for the every other week will still happen when he starts pre-K, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless there's something substantial. I mean, I can't control, I don't have my little ball here today, my crystal ball to be able to see into the future, but yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And you're gonna draft,
Proposed order?
yes,
Yes. I'll submit it in Word if I can.
please do
I know
that,
you like to
please.
change things.
Any questions, Ms. Landgraf?
I don't believe so.
Any questions, Mr. Mishler?
No,
Any questions, Ms. Heitner?
No, ma'am.
actually, I do have one question.
Yes.
So all communication has to go through the app. We don't use Messenger no more, text. Okay.
Right now, you have that barrier. You're gonna have to sign up for that app today. Pay for it on your credit card, debit card.
Is this your weekend, this weekend?
Next weekend.
Ugh.
Okay, so maybe effective Monday or Wednesday of next week, and then I can, I'll email for a fee waiver to see
How
if
would
that's
I just
possible.
say that our family wizard must be signed up and 100% starting to be used by January 20th.
Okay.
What day is that?
That's a Monday.
Okay. All right.
That gives a couple weeks,
Okay.
because then it gives you guys some time to make sure you have the funds, to communicate, to get used to it. But again, just because I sign it and I put it in black and white on an order doesn't mean that's what you guys have to do. As long as you both agree, you can agree to go meet, at McDonald's in North Branch. You could go, you can decide that he can have the week of 4th of July, etc. It's all in what you both can work out together, because that's in the end what's going to be best for Owen. With regards to vacation though, Ms. Landgraf, please say that it cannot be used. It can be used anytime during the year, but it may not take any parent's holiday.
Or weekend, or? It doesn't that matter.
That doesn't matter. But holiday, unless they get written permission
From the other parent.
from the other parent.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Anything else? You make beautiful children. Your daughters are very beautiful.
Thank you.
They look like their mother. They do.
Well, thank you for being fair and doing what's right for Owen's interests. And I always say more is better when it comes to therapy and everything for Owen. And I wish I would have had a doctor here because she's the one who told me it was good. It could be possible.
But it didn't, and so I can't. I have to go with what I have,
I didn't think of it.
so. It's work in progress. You're gonna get there, okay?
Yeah.
Good luck to you both.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
System on, I'm gonna do tomorrow.